Right now, on your head, thousands of tiny tubes are pushing out a fossil record. Not metaphorically, literally. Every strand of hair growing out of your scalp carries a shape that was decided before you were born, coded by people you never met. What most people don't realize is that hair texture isn't random. It's a map, written in keratin, tracing back through thousands of years of human migration. Look around any crowded street and you'll see thousands of different textures: straight, wavy, curly, coiled. Most people assume this comes down to simple genetics, like eye color, but the real story is stranger than that. Inside your body, a single structure is responsible for all of it, and its shape was shaped by climate, migration, and survival long before you existed. At first, nothing seems unusual about a single strand of hair, but underneath the surface, that strand is being built by a process more architectural than biological, one that took tens of thousands of years to design. There are 4 broad texture categories, and each one tells a different geographic story. Straight hair is most common in populations with East Asian and Indigenous American ancestry, and it's linked to a follicle shape that is almost perfectly round. Wavy hair often traces back to Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and parts of European ancestry, produced by a slightly oval follicle. Curly hair appears frequently in South Asian and some European lineages, built by a more elongated, asymmetrical follicle. And tightly coiled hair is most associated with African ancestry, formed by a follicle so flattened and curved that it forces the strand to spiral as it grows. What most people don't realize is that none of these categories are better or worse, stronger or weaker. They're simply different engineering solutions to the same environmental problems: heat, moisture, and sun exposure. Every hair grows from a follicle, and the shape of that follicle determines everything about the strand it produces. A round follicle acts like a straight pipe, so the hair that emerges from it grows straight. A flattened, curved follicle acts more like a twisted mold, forcing the strand to curl as it pushes through. This isn't decoration, it's engineering. At the molecular level, the story goes even deeper. Hair is built from a protein called keratin, and inside every strand, keratin chains are held together by chemical bonds called disulfide bonds. In straighter hair, these bonds line up in a simple, even pattern. In curlier hair, the bonds form at uneven angles, which physically pulls the strand into a spiral shape as it grows. This is why heat and chemical treatments can temporarily change texture. They're breaking and reforming those exact bonds. Here's where it gets interesting. Follicle shape is largely controlled by a gene called EDAR, one of the most studied genes in human population science. A tiny mutation in that gene, dating back roughly 30,000 years, changed follicle shape for millions of people descended from one region of East Asia. Inside your body, your hair texture may be a side effect of a change that helped your ancestors regulate heat, moisture, or protection from the sun. Curl pattern, in particular, tells its own climate story. Tightly coiled hair creates more surface area and airflow around the scalp, which helps release heat efficiently in hot, high-sun climates like equatorial Africa. Straighter hair tends to lie flatter and closer to the head, offering more insulation in cooler, less sun-intense regions. This is where the real change begins to make sense. Your texture isn't cosmetic. It's a leftover thermostat setting tuned by the environment your ancestors survived in. So how do scientists actually trace this back with any precision? They look at keratin protein structures and follicle cross-sections under a microscope. A perfectly round cross-section means straight hair. An elliptical or ribbon-like cross-section means increasing curl. By comparing these shapes across populations, researchers can trace ancestral patterns with surprising accuracy, sometimes identifying regional lineage from a single strand alone. This is the same core principle forensic scientists use when analyzing hair evidence at a crime scene, except here, it's being used to read deep human history instead of solving a case. Even hair thickness follows this pattern. East Asian ancestry is linked to the thickest average strand diameter of any population on Earth, another likely adaptation shaped by ancient climate pressure. What most people don't realize is that texture also affects how hair ages, absorbs moisture, and responds to damage over time. Curlier hair has more twists and bends along its shaft, so natural oils produced at the scalp travel more slowly down the strand. That's why curlier hair types often experience more dryness at the ends, even when oil production at the scalp is completely normal. Straighter hair, by contrast, gets coated in oil much faster, which is why it can appear greasy sooner after washing. This also affects porosity, or how easily hair absorbs and holds moisture from the outside. Tighter curl patterns tend to have raised, more open cuticle layers, allowing moisture in quickly, but also letting it escape just as fast. None of this is a flaw. It's simply the mechanical outcome of a shape your ancestors passed down to you, generation after generation. Here's where most people get it wrong. They treat all hair care advice as universal, using the same routines and products regardless of texture. But a round, straight follicle and a flattened, curved follicle behave completely differently under the same heat, washing frequency, and product ingredients. Applying one-size-fits-all care doesn't just fail to help. Over time, it can accelerate breakage, dryness, or scalp irritation because you're working against the actual architecture of your own hair. Understanding your follicle shape isn't a cosmetic detail. It's the starting point for working with your biology instead of against it. Every time you look in the mirror, you're looking at a decision made by biology thousands of years before your birth. Your texture isn't random, and it isn't cosmetic. It's a record of climate, migration, and survival written into a shape you carry every single day. Understanding that shape doesn't just explain your hair, it reveals a piece of where you and your ancestors truly came from.